One, what do you mean by a anatomically difficult airway? So in an ICU we see that the patient is sick. The patient is not in a controlled position. The patient is somewhere. The operator who is going to induce or place or intubate the patient is somewhere. So you do not have that ideal condition wherein the neck of the patient is supposed to be at the level of your umbilicus and he is at the edge of your bed, and the height of your bed or trolley is at your level. You do not bend much. You are in your controlled environment, that your angle of your eye axis and your laryngopharyngeal airway line is in par. You do not have such ideal environment inside the ICU. Neither you are able to assess the Mallampati grading in ICU, because we know ICU patient is either on NIV or on oxygen mask, wherein you cannot remove the oxygen mask, or does not have a proper GCS where he will cooperate for the Mallampati grading. Patient is often irritable, is not ready to cooperate, is not ready to open his mouth. Even if he is open his mouth, you will have a limited mouth opening. Then you will have lots of tubes and lines going in and across the patient. Sometimes the patient is even having a cervical collar in a polytrauma patient. You have a stiff neck if it is a meningitis patient, or if the patient has ankylosing spondylitis or other airway problems. You have like the Riles tube running, you have the lot of ECG guide wires running there, then you have all sorts of tubes running around, you have the central line here, you have the subclavian line, you have the HT line. So you do not have the controlled environment. So as such, it's an anatomically difficult airway, because the anatomy of not just the patient, the anatomy of the patient as well as the operator is totally altered here. You and your access towards the patient is very limited. The patient is being surrounded by multiple other things, which again makes your access difficult. And obviously, for all the reasons, you are not able to assess the Mallampati grading of the patient. Then we have something called as a pathologically difficult airway. Why do you call it as a pathologically difficult airway? Because the patient is in a pathological state. It's not like an anesthesiologist patient who comes in a walking state and then you assess the airway and then you make plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Here the patient is either having a poor GCS or is in coma, or patient is in multiple inotropic support with a septic shock, wherein a small change or a small time lapse of changing even the syringes can result in a massive cardiac arrest, or patient is in severe ARDS or type 2 respiratory failure, where you cannot wean him off from an NIV. The moment you remove the NIV mask, he starts desaturating very badly down. So there is a pathologically difficult airway, which definitely imposes the stress on the operator that he has to intubate the patient within a limited short span of time to prevent any further morbidity or any devastating complication, including cardiac arrest, which can occur as a consequence of it. So obviously now we have the anatomical difficult airway in ICU and we have a pathological difficult airway. Superimposing in all these things, we have our operational difficulty. The operational difficulty can be difficulty of the operator or difficulty of the support. So most often we see that in an ICU we have non-anesthesiologist expert. So there will be either the general medicine people, or there will be sometimes people with ICU experience, MBBS registrars, or you will have your DRNB PGs or your critical care PGs who are from the medicine background or pulmonology background or emergency physician background, who are not, I must say, experts in managing airway. So there is a non-anesthesiology expert which impedes the difficulty. Other than that, we have lot of lack of technical and manual support. In an operating environment, we have enough technicians, we have in fact an operating pillow, we have people to give you a burp pressure, we have people to give you a laryngeal pressure, we have multiple tubes available, we have multiple sizes of tubes, bougies, scopes, blades and all the difficult airway gadgets available. But in ICU, you are restricted with your technical as well as your manual support. So your anatomical difficulties, your pathological difficulties and your operational difficulties does not make classical, your MP classification or your Mallampati classification to exist inside your ICU. Because in your Mallampati grading, to call it as a difficult airway, you just look at open your mouth and look at your hard palate, soft palate, uvula, base of the uvula and grade it as 1, 2, 3, 4. But in ICU, You cannot even have a proper malam.